to tweet any injurious falsehood, and in his words, I'm going to get his undivided attention. That is El-Rufai for you. You see, if you have sat down with a person like El-Rufai, he's a very dangerous man. You see, El-Rufai is somebody who, he told me that Umar Yar'Adua, and the late Yar'Adua was a senior in school in Barawa College, and that the late president's role model was Hitler. So I wonder whose role model, who is El-Rufai's role model. How do you wake up? Okay, since 2019, when he said he was going to create 50,000 jobs, people didn't take that with a bag of salt. You see, El-Rufai is playing out full circle. Like my brother said, in 2012, El-Rufai was in the vanguard of those who led protests against the federal government. He encouraged, in fact, he incited people against government. In 2014, El-Rufai is on record. And you see, it's more difficult for political office holders now because of the internet, because of social media. El-Rufai said that
the internet never
forgets. El-Rufai said it is not, let me quote him, if I can, let me paraphrase El-Rufai, that it is not his job of opposition to praise Jonathan. That even when Jonathan has done something right, it is their duty to say he has not done it right. So you wake up and I'm happy for what happened yesterday in Kaduna, because in last October, during the EndSARS crisis, there was a conjecture, there was this speculation about whether or not government really sponsored violence on citizens.
Peaceful protests.
But yesterday, it is clear that someone like El-Rufai, and I'm sure human rights activists the world over searchlight, this is the same man who dared the international community that if they came into Nigeria, that they would live in body bags. And people did not. Do you know what body bags? Body bags are bags meant to carry dead people. So it shows from day one, from the get-go, El-Rufai did not hide his penchant for violence, for blood, for bloodshed, for killing, for maiming. So and that came out in the open yesterday. And we should also cast a searchlight.
But Zaid has also come out to deny that.
No, of course, excuse me.
We should also nothing about that. In fact, accusing an NLC of, we should also beam our we should also beam our searchlight on our security agencies. Just yesterday, I mean, ironically, the IG was in Enugu State to launch what he said, Operation Restore Peace Southeast. But in Kaduna State, we saw an NLC say that in their statement, and we saw photographs. They don't lie. We saw people with cordials, we saw people with daggers, we saw people with machetes, freely mingling with the police. I have thought that when you are and they were brought in buses.
Buses, of course. So what did the police do yesterday? You see, when we talk about the role of our security agencies, I mean, we saw blueprint. It's on blueprint. You see, you see people armed with dangerous weapons, attacking people in full glare of the police, and the policemen are there. Apparently,
you can see them from the picture.
That's the police. That's the police DSP also. If I can see that very well.
Yes, that's the police and the civil defense.
And when we come to criticize our security agencies, people say we don't like them. How can you be in Enugu and talking about restoring peace, where in Kaduna the Nigerian police are in cahort with agents of the Kaduna State government to unleash terror on peaceful protesters? These are the issues that we have to discuss.
We must again ask Dr. Maho, what is government, practically government across board now in Nigeria, what are they afraid of? Why are they afraid of protest? Is it, why do they not see the fundamental right of the citizens to protest and hold the government accountable? So rather than listen to what your people say, after all, you are there for the people, you unleash terror on them. Where did we get this wrong? How did we get to this point where we respond with armed thugs to peaceful protest?
Often I tell people that Nigeria is an oil-funded joke. Oil-funded joke. Because when we talk about Nigeria at times, we talk in terms of ceteris paribus. Every other thing being equal. You just assume that every other thing is equal.
Under normal circumstances.
Yes, but we know that there is no ceteris in paribus when it comes to Nigeria. Nothing is equal. Often what you see, appearance and reality, difference. What you see or what government present to you, project to you, is not a true picture of the reality. So when you talk about ceteris paribus, you assume that government exists to serve the interest of the people. to provide you with a reasonable standard of living and, of course, to protect life and properties. But that's not what we see in Nigeria. That is why it is so easy to see a government which is elected to serve the interest of the people, to provide security for the people, we turn against the same people at the slightest opportunity. Like we are seeing here, pictures don't lie. This is a clear case of what happened in Kaduna yesterday. You see the labor leaders undergoing their peaceful protest. No arm, no stick,
just flags,
no cudgel, no machete. The police is not providing them cover or protection. But you look at the picture behind, you see able-bodied young men. Of course, you can tell from their dressing that they are hoodlums, carrying sticks, cudgel, and being under the protection. You can see a policeman and a civil defense officer right behind them, giving them cover. So what do you make of that situation? You understand? The Constitution provides, for instance, that protest is a constitutional right. You sack people. Are you now saying it's like beating a child and telling the child
not to cry?
Not to cry. That's the situation. That is why I said earlier that El-Rufai is displaying dictatorial tendencies. He was elected by these same people. Let's come back to what I was saying earlier. He was elected by these same people to give them good governance. But is he providing it? Is he a listening governor? Okay, so these are the issues. Nigerian government is dysfunctional because the leadership recruitment process in this country is equally dysfunctional. We don't have leaders who put the people's interests foremost.
Dr. Maho, when you look at things like this, I'm reminded of what Kawabara just said. We mentioned it earlier in the opening of today, and he said, look, the people you call armed bandits today are mercenaries we brought in for the 2015 election, and now they've become the monsters we've seen.
Yes.
Burna Boys are so-called the monsters we made. This is how we start. You bring these boys in to attack people. During elections,
for a temporary victory.
For a temporary victory. During elections, you use these boys for whatever means to an end to win an election. And afterwards, these guys would turn into the monsters you can't control. And that's why states like Kaduna are in the crisis which they are facing today. But let's move on from this and talk about I think what we're seeing in leadership, I think that's the second biggest story that we have. Debt profile hits 36.3 trillion naira as PMB6 fresh 2.3 trillion naira loan. And the PDP is saying you're mortgaging the future of Nigeria. And you still hear the DM was saying, oh, we are still within sustainable limits. Chuks. You can't help it.
Let me tell you what someone said to me, that Nigeria's oil has been sold 50 years ahead.
And you see, it's ludicrous, because you see, like somebody once said, the easiest thing in this world is to borrow. Anybody can borrow. And I'm not sure when President Muhammad Buhari was seeking votes, he said he was going to borrow money, because anybody you put there anybody who borrows money can spend. So the issue is, what is the government's role? Protection of life and property, and then you create wealth. You like, just like a brewer, just like a bread maker. If you want your dough to rise, you have to culture yeast. When you culture yeast, if you don't culture yeast properly, your dough will not rise. So it is for government to
create an enabling environment.
Yes, to create an enabling environment
to thrive.
When Buhari was coming into office in 2015, I laughed because he said diversifying the economy. They said agri and solid minerals, and appointed Dr. Fayemi as the Minister of Solid Minerals. But what happened? A few years after appointing Fayemi dumped the mandate and went to become governor, because he knew that it was a joke. Because if Dr. Fayemi believed in President Muhammad Buhari's vision of diversifying the economy, and since Fayemi left, I think Otumba Adebayo is there.
Was it not big governor was more profitable for him and more profile-wise?
No. We're talking about a minister. No, APC came. You see, Fayemi has been governor since. He's governor now. What has changed in his state? Of course, that's not the point. But the issue is this. Since 2015, how far have we diversified our economy? That's the problem. That's the question. You see, agric, which used to be the second largest contributor to our GDP is falling behind.
But look at the argument they're making, Chuks. The argument the government is making that, look, the COVID-19 pandemic has created a big hole in the purse of government. Revenue has almost dried up. Nigeria is not the only country affected.
Fine.
So what are the options left? They talked about printing more money, created a whole lot of uproar all over the place. Now, foreign borrowing seems to be the only option. I mean, the deficit we've been running is huge and massive. And they're saying for us to be able to fund governments and inflate the economy and allow the economy to run very fluidly, we don't have a choice but to go borrowing.
But to add to that question, the question then will be, I mean, what are the building blocks to help build that economy back up? Because when you inflate the economy, you have to somehow sustain it.
And that's why they're claiming that they're sending it into the usual phrase, cliche, critical infrastructure.
What is critical infrastructure? You see, I said something. You see,
you have a bridge heading into Niger State, Niger, actually.
No.
Beg your pardon.
Excuse me.
They talked about the profitability and economic value of that rail.
Excuse me. Everybody in Nigeria knows today that the hardest hit sector is food. That's the hardest hit that inflation has hit in Nigeria is agriculture. If you check the price of foodstuff last year and now, over 200%.
Why are you going so far? Last year is like, we've had time.
Early this year.
Every day is the last.
Any serious government, you see, it's not by coincidence. Look at the most developed, advanced nations on earth. There are two critical sectors. You see, any rich country is a farming country. Any rich country, they do well in sports. Yes. Because if you don't eat well, you can't.
It's a producing economy.
Yes, it's a producing economy. You talk about, take the major grains, wheat, rice, corn, US, soybeans, they're always there. China, Russia. You see, what I was going to say, look, I saw this picture and I laughed. I saw the CBN. You see, we've always been paying lip service to agriculture. Look at a country like, you see, we seem to go very far. A country like Cote d'Ivoire. Cote d'Ivoire used to be the largest producer of cocoa in the world. But because of health issues in the West, because of heart problems, they knew that the Western wanted to cut down on eating chocolates as dessert. What did Ivory Coast do? They changed gear and went into cashew production. And today, in 20 years, Ivory Coast moved from number 7 to number 1 cashew producing nation in the world. Let me ask us this question here. Since 2015, what crop have we taken as?
There was a time we were number 1 in cassava production.
No, now. Do you know now? I bought cassava for my. Now you can't even eat cassava in Nigeria. I had to buy cassava from Latvia for my animals. Cassava is so. That's why Gary is more expensive than semovita, because you get semovita from wheat, and we can get wheat easily from Canada and from the US. It's very, very.
I met the shock of my life when on Saturday I went into the young lady in the house to go into the market, and she comes back and says, "Oh, she didn't buy Gary." I'm like, "Why not?" And she tells me Gary is 500 naira for a mudo. A mudo is less than 1 kg.
It's less than 1 kg.
Like Gary from cassava, I was like shocked. Like,
and
what is happening?
Do you know the reason? You see, because cassava is an annual crop. It's like 9 months a year. So when you plant cassava in May, it will stay till about April of the following year or March for you to harvest. And because in the dry season, itinerant herders, I'm also a herdsman, by the way. You see, itinerant herders, they move their animals to
everybody is laughing when you say you're a
herdsman. No, I'm a herdsman. You see, they move their animals to feed on, because there are no crops no grasses to feed on, so they move their crops. So most farmers, to avoid a situation where they always clash with these herders, they stop planting cassava. Government has not gone to look into that. Look at what Governor Tom said on returning from Ibadan yesterday. Look at what he said, and people think that the governor is joking. He said, "Arm yourself," because before he used to say, "Defend yourself." But now he has moved
from arm
yourself. Yes, he said, "Arm yourself." And you see. Yes, you can criticize Governor Tom for saying arm yourself, but what happened yesterday in Kaduna? NSA have to organize themselves to chase these guys away.
The hoodlums.
So, and I'm sure they didn't do that with bare fists. You understand? Because these guys were hauling pebbles, stones, and stuff. So, if the grand norm is security of life and property. If there is no security in a country, if we like, we should borrow $100 trillion. If you bring that money here, it will be like pouring water in basket. If there is no security to guarantee, you see, we saw what happened in Utibe, on the Utibe rail line.
Yeah.
Vandals are going to cut. They're going to cut. So if you build this rail from here to Niger or from here to Tripoli, people will still go and cut this.
Yeah,
people who are hungry will still go and
sell off the materials.
And sell off the materials. If you build bridges, that's
Dr.
true.
Maho, you brought in the area of security. We started from the economy.
Yeah.
And your point, is that except we secure
if
the country, we cannot do anything. We can't build the economy. So President Muhammadu Buhari has asked France has told President Emmanuel Macron to come and help Nigeria fight Boko Haram. We know that France has always supported Francophone African countries. How do you see France responding to this?
They will respond the same way the United States responded when he made that conference call for AFCOM to relocate to Nigeria, or at best Africa.
Africom.
And they told AFRICOM, yeah. And they told you no, we can't do it because of cost implication. And if you look at every country now post-COVID is concerned about their own strategic interest.
Yeah.
Nigeria doesn't fall into the strategic interest within the realm of the strategic interest of the United States or France. We are just wasting our time. Our problem as a country lies with us. The solution is here.
Yeah.
Talking about debt, for crying out loud, 36 trillion naira indebtedness, and your budget for 2021 is running a deficit of over 5 trillion. 5 trillion. Take a note of that.
And for debt servicing is about 44%.
Yes. The last time I checked, in terms of, at times when you want to look at the problem Nigeria really is, you look at what we are using our total revenue for. As at today, the last time I checked, we are spending over 90% of our total revenue in servicing debt. In other words, there's no money to even meet the overhead of the federal government, or to even pay, or to even invest in critical infrastructure. That is the problem. What is government supposed to do to rectify the problem? You look at more means of generating revenue. Like Chuks said, since Buhari's administration, APC, campaigned with diversifying the economy, in all indices, APC has failed. 3 prongs: economy, anti-corruption,
security.
You failed in all of it. And if you look at the 3 of them, these 3 rungs or three planks which the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari is resting on, you find that they are all intertwined. Without security, you can't build the economy. Without fighting corruption, you can't build the economy. So if you fail in one, you fail in all. This is what is playing out. And that is why we are where we are. And the sad part of it again is that as at date, we are not doing anything. The government doesn't even have a handle on the problem. Corruption is rife. Insecurity is everywhere. Where there is a situation, even as an individual, a Nigerian, if I have the cash, I cannot invest my money in this country. Not to talk of a foreigner coming with his hard-earned cash to come and put into your country. Added to that, if every indices to measure performance in Nigeria is very bleak. Foreign remittances, which Nigeria used to rely on, at least, of about 25 billion US dollars, it dropped significantly last year, and this year is going to drop. COVID-19 is not an excuse. In 2008, there was a global economic lockdown, but we had an Okonjo-Iweala as coordinator of the economy. We had an Obasanjo as the president of this country, and they put measures in place for the future. That future enabled us to have been able to weather the storm in 2008, 2009. But what is happening today? The same crop of people who said the cash saved for the future in the SS crude account, bring it, let's spend it, is an illegal deduction from state resources to go and put. They are the people ruling us today. What have they done? They criticize it, but they didn't give you an alternative. So what we are in today is a big problem that we are not getting out of, because nobody is doing anything to change the situation. You know, like I said earlier, Nigeria is an oil-funded joke, or at best, at times I see Nigeria as a social experiment to see how long 200 million people can suffer misgovernance before they revolt.
You talked about France being not even, just a minute, not even coming in to help you, because the truth of the matter is they're even busy. Their hands are full. They are military engaged in Mali, in Burkina Faso,
in Senegal,
in Chad. So they're actually overstretched at the moment. And these are their traditional allies, the Francophone countries.
Yes.
And to talk of them coming to
add to that, has France, at times people will even tell you, conspiracy theorists will even tell you that most of the problem Nigeria is suffering in terms of insecurity is one way or the other fueled
connected to
by France's policy against Nigeria.
I will have a slightly different perspective. If you are President Macron and Buhari was meeting with you yesterday, and about the same time he's meeting you, these photographs I imagine of a state governor arming talks. Boko Haram is fairly, it's spawning insecurity. But where does Boko Haram where are they getting their recruits from? It's from all these people El-Rufai is arming. You understand? So if somebody drives a Lexus 570 to your house and says he wants you to loan him 50,000, you will laugh, because you have a Toyota Corolla and somebody has come with a G-Wagon. You understand? No, you see,
you expect him to go and sell it.
Of course, you see, you want France to France has no business with Nigeria. France, they are not our colonial masters. Britons are colonial masters. So, and I ask you, if you are France, what would be the economic benefits of France in Nigeria? In Nigeria?
That's why Dr. Maho talked about.
Yes, what the president went to tell this thing, we also can make noise, because the man, I'm sure the man will laugh at him. You know, the man will laugh. President Macron will laugh at our president, because if President Buhari understood diplomacy and international politics, he shouldn't have even gone to France in that way, because France has no business with Nigeria. Look at France's hands full in Chad. Look at the emerging the political leadership crisis in Chad. France is very interested in Chad. France has no money. France has its own domestic issues, immigration issues, you understand, Islamists in France. So France, even if they had all the money, France will not come and help and send their soldiers to help fight Boko Haram. As long as governors in Nigeria will keep arming thugs, arming bandits, because how come? Is it by happenstance that Kaduna appears to be the most dangerous part of Nigeria after? In fact, Kaduna appears to be more dangerous than even not Zamfara, even Borno now. So, except we begin to cast our searchlight on people like Governor El-Rufai, who are state sponsors of terrorism. Because
that's a heavy statement.
No. Today, as we speak,
to describe him as a state sponsor.
No. If a state government,
let's not use that. Let's not use that first. I think it's a bit too strong.
It's heavy.
So we'll excuse that.
We'll leave that. We leave that for international.
We didn't hear.
We leave that for the Hague.
All right. We'll just end it at this point. Chuks, we want to say thank you so much for being here. I know you have a personal beef with him, but you take it up on Twitter. Dr. Maho, pleasure having you.
Yeah, thank you.
Always a pleasure, Dr. Maho.